Welcome to Wagner Academy. This is question 20. It says Mr. and Mrs. Blank sold their house for $200,000. That's an interesting last name. And needed to hire an attorney to handle the closing procedures. Attorney Mr. Gable charges a flat rate of $2,500. Attorney Ms. Mandel, charges 1.5% of the cost of the house. Which attorney would be cheaper for Mr. and Mrs. Blank to use? So Mr. Gable, he's a simple flat rate of $2,500. So we need to figure out if $2,500 is more or less or the same as 1.5% of this amount of $200,000. So how can I find out what 1.5% of that amount is? If I'm doing percents, think of changing percents to decimals. So 1.5% is the same as 1.5%, and 1.5%, move the decimal 2 spots to change from a percent to a decimal. So I'm going to be moving this 1, 2, think of it like this. So the decimal would be right there. We'd have 0.015. So I'm going to multiply $200,000 times 0.015. And no calculators allowed on this, at least on the CST questions, which is what we're practicing here. But if you're just doing pre-algebra type review, you could go ahead and use calculators, I guess, in that case. We're going to have a bunch of zeros, 5 zeros it looks like. 1, 2, 3, 4. I want to keep my digits lined up nice though. 5, and then 2 times 5, that's going to be 10. And then from there, blank space, or 0 or an X, and then do your 1. So we're going to have another 5 zeros to start. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 2 times 1 would be 2. So if we add this all together, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, 0, and a 3. Remember the total number of places to the right of the decimal up here. 1, 2, 3 has to equal the total number of places to the right of the decimal down here. There were no decimal places to the right over here, so we've got what we're looking for. This then, I could put a dollar sign in front of that since this was $200,000. This would be my final charge for Ms. Mandel, $3,000 right here. And so let's compare that to this. Looks like Ms. Mandel charging $3,000 is going to be about $500, or exactly, not about, exactly $500 more than Mr. Gable charges here. So if the price were maybe a little bit lower, that would be 1.5% of $150,000 perhaps would end up being less than the $2,500 here. But we have $200,000, got a more expensive home here, and so Ms. Mandel will charge more because of that 1.5% rate in this particular case. So which attorney would be cheaper? Looks like Mr. Gable would be cheaper in this instance by $500. $3,000 is $500 more than the $2,500 that he charges. Number 20, choice A.